There's an old saying, I might butcher it, so bear with me here, but I think it's the banality of evil, right? And the idea behind it is evil can just be par for the course. It could just be standard operating procedure. It could just be something you don't think about. You don't even realize. It just happens. And a good example of that, by the way, is the U.S. healthcare system. We have 45,000 people that die every year because they don't have basic healthcare. So simply for lack of a universal healthcare system, that's how many people die every year. About 330,000 people, according to a recent study, died because during the pandemic, we didn't have universal healthcare. So you know what that means? A lot of people didn't go to the hospital when they should have, or when they went, it was too late. And they were afraid to go because they couldn't afford it. By the time they got there, it was too late. They ended up dying. This is the banality of evil, right? This is what it is. It's abject evil shit happening in front of us that we don't even bat an eyelash at. People are just used to it. It's baked into the cake. Well, having said that, we have a great example of it right here. So Bernie Sanders has tried to be a moral guide and a voice for people where he highlights the things that are truly egregious and outrageous and immoral and unethical. So here he is running this committee hearing, and he brings in a bunch of big pharma executives, and he's going to absolutely grill them on basically the price gouging and robbery they're doing of the American people when it comes to what we pay for pharmaceutical drugs compared to other countries. So let's watch some of this. I want you to take note of the way he's talking and their reactions, because it says a lot. Watch this.
Mr. Ricks, Eli Lilly charges $196,000 in the United States for Cyramza, a stomach cancer drug. That same drug can be purchased in Germany for just $54,000. Will you commit to this committee to lower the price of Cyramza in the United States to the same price that you're selling it in Germany, $54,000? Yes? No?
Respectfully, Senator, that product has been on the market for a while. We do expect biosimilar entry. That's the primary mechanism in the U.S. where the price will fall when that occurs. I'm sure there'll be competition in the price.
So what you're telling me is that the American people will have to pay 4 times more than Germans do for the same product that you manufacture. Okay. Mr. Hudson, Sanofi is a French company. In France, Sanofi sells a thyroid cancer treatment, Capelsa, for $30,000 a year. Sanofi sells the same drug in the United States for $203,000 a year. It's 9 times as much. Will you commit to lowering the price of Capelsa in the United States to $30,000, same price as it's sold in France?
Over time, with the introduction of competition and other biosimilars, et cetera, you'll see the price fall.
Yeah, so the answer is no. Mr. Urenson.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt, but we are now, you're at 7 minutes.
You'll have the same amount of time, Senator.
Does every member have that?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Urenson, in Denmark, Novo Nordisk sells a diabetes treatment, Ozempic, for $2,000 per year. That's 6 times more. You charge 6 times more to Americans. Will you reduce the cost of Ozempic in the United States to what it is in Denmark?
Senator, I believe the amount you mentioned for the U.S. is before rebates. So on average, we pay 75% in rebates in the U.S. And for Ozempic, we actually see price going down, our net price going down year over year. So we get a lower price already.
Answer is no.
That's a jarring video. Because you have these pharma executives, serious people wearing suits and ties, some of them wearing glasses, talking very calmly and seriously and talking about the nature of the, well, that's before you include rebates, and that's before you include the other reductions in prices. The actual price is lower than that, Senator. Well, the reason why the price is so high is because there haven't been biosimilars that have been put on the market yet, which is just a fancy way of saying there hasn't been a generic version of the drug that's been put on the market yet. And when you introduce that to the system, the drug will be reduced in price quite a bit. So soon as we introduce that, everything will be right on par with where you expect it to be. Good sir. Yeah. All of that is a giant crock of shit. All of it. The pharma executives are price gouging everybody, and they know they're price gouging everybody. One of the things you hear all the time is, look, other countries get cheaper drugs, but that's largely because the U.S. is paying so much for it, and so we're basically subsidizing cheaper drugs for other countries. Well, I've already explained to you guys, there hasn't been a single medicine created in the past 20 years without U.S. taxpayer money. So U.S. taxpayers create it on the front end, and then the pharmaceutical companies swoop in and buy up the patent rights to these drugs, and then they sell it to us on the back end again and make a colossal profit. They price gouge us at the same time. So we pay for it on the front end and the back end. This is crazy. Guys, I don't know how to say this any simpler. These companies shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be for profit. It shouldn't be capitalist. This is one area where the evidence is in. We know for sure. We should nationalize this industry. Because, by the way, if we nationalize this industry, well, you're just eliminating the middleman. Right now, you have the U.S. taxpayers do the research and development on the front end, and then you wouldn't have an unnecessary mafia, rapacious, parasite middleman who just comes in and takes their cut and steals from you in the process. They are unnecessary. Now, by the way, look, I'm not saying every industry should be nationalized. It depends on the industry. It depends what the evidence shows. It depends what works and what doesn't work. The example I give all the time, if you look at the Soviet Union, the cars that came out of the Soviet Union were abysmal. Why? Because there was no competition. It was one car made just by the government, and they had all these goofy features, and it was very ineffective, and it was very expensive. And that's an area where having it in the private marketplace really made it so that you increased the quality and lowered the prices because of the competition. But when it comes to pharmaceuticals, that's just not the case. We do the research and development. So, they do all of it, and that's why they're charging you so much. Bullshit. Guys, we've talked about it before. There is a prostate cancer drug that sells for about $200 in the UK. You know what it sells for here? $38,000. Look, this should be a situation where I want my tax money going to this. Do I want my tax money going to Iraq, where we do an illegal and offensive invasion against a country that didn't attack us and kill minimum 200,000 innocent civilians, and we do torture? Is that where I want 7 trillion tax dollars going? No. Do I want my tax money going to a grandma who can't afford her insulin? And you know what? Don't worry, Grandma. It's okay. It's on the taxpayer. It's on the U.S. government. We'll take care of you. You're not going to die because you can't afford your insulin. Yes, that's what I want it going towards. Even for the expensive medicines, right? I get it that some medicines, even with the taxpayer funding and the research and development, some of them are still going to be expensive. Okay, but that's where I want my tax money going. If I'm creating a list where I prioritize what makes the most sense for us to fund collectively through the commons, that's on the top of the list. Healthcare and pharmaceutical drugs is on the top of the list. Of course, you had police, you had fire department, you had roads and things of that nature. But healthcare is right up there, man. Without a doubt. Education, right up there, man. So I brought up the banality of evil. Why? You can see it right there. Serious white guys in suits and ties and glasses. Sir, it's because we haven't introduced the biosimilars yet. And he's asking very simple questions. You sell it for X amount there, you sell it for this much here. It's 4 times more, it's 9 times more, it's 6 times more. Will you commit to giving it to us at the price that other countries pay? And the answer is no, 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 no. Well, guess what? The president should be the one taking action on this. Joe Biden, under what's called the Bayh-Dole Act, which is an act on pharmaceutical drug prices, which was passed in, I believe, the 1990s. He has the right to lower prices for any drugs that U.S. taxpayers funded the creation of. And you know what? Like I said, in the past 20 years, every drug, there's been taxpayer money that's gone to it. So that's an example of Biden should step in and say, I'm lowering all the drug prices. I'm lowering all of them. But he won't do it because, of course, he takes money from the pharmaceutical industry. Most of the politicians take money from the pharmaceutical industry. And it's one big, giant scam and ruse. And we're all watching it unfold right in front of our faces. But at least Bernie here is ripping the mask off the entire charade. That's what he's doing. And credit to Bernie, he said, I'm going to block all of Joe Biden's appointments and picks unless and until he does something on prescription drug prices. That's further than what he already did. Because what he did in the Inflation Reduction Act is he said, we're going to lower some prescription drug prices, like 5 or 10 of them, but only for senior citizens. Bernie's like, that's not enough. We got to go further than that. So Bernie's right, and thank him for unmasking these greedy pharmaceutical executives who are screwing all of us. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.